Thanks for having me on your show. So my name's Eny Osung, and my company is Global.media. It's the trading name of my parent company that I set up in 2015. I'm based in England. I said, it's not I was. I was born in England, lived in Nigeria when I was a child, came back as a teenager. And now I run a marketing agency which helps small businesses to try and sell more online.
All right, that's great. That's fantastic. So you were born in UK.
Yes, I was born in Woolwich.
All right, that's beautiful. Do you want to tell me a little bit about your background growing up? Okay, first, you are originally from Nigeria. Okay, your parents are from
Yes, my mother,
Nigeria.
dad, my mom and dad are from Nigeria.
Okay, you want to tell me a bit about that?
What can I say? They got married in Nigeria, before we were born, and they both came here. So, my dad was a surgeon, so he was. My mom, is a professor of food. So, I guess, I got an older sister who's a year older than me. And when they had children, they were busy working because life in England is about working, really. So they decided the best option was for us to go and grow up with our granddad in Nigeria. And that was fun. That was a lot of fun. So we grew up in, the back end of, I say back end, Edo State, that as it is now. So there was Bendel State then. So we grew up near Ekpoma, so, in Iroa. Granddad he owns a hospital. So, it was a fun time to grow up as a kid. You know,
That's lovely. So we are even from the same place. I'm from Esan. You're also from Esan. That is great. I'm from Uromi. You are from Irua. Can you?
small
What?
word. It's a small word, isn't it? It's an amazingly small
It's a
word.
small word, Obiaba. A small word, it be. Bokia. What is Esan? Can you speak Esan?
No, I could, but I think last time I went, I guess I can learn. No, I can hear more, I can understand more than I can't speak at all now, which is a terrible shame. I have to tell you, it would say, when I was, of course, when I would speak the language when we were there, but I think we'll find very quickly, unless you speak a language constantly, you soon forget totally how to speak it. You know, so the weird thing is, I've got a 14-year-old boy now, my youngest, and he's more keen to speak the language than me. And he'll go and watch it on YouTube and start talking to me in English, and I'm like,
That is so
what can
interesting.
I say?
It's so interesting, Annie.
It really is a shame, though. I say, it's one of those things you wish you had done differently.
Mhm.
But I say, if I ever went back there in the long term, I'm sure I
Mhm.
could pick it up again quite easily. You know,
This podcast also exists in the sign language.
really.
Yeah. Because the intention is to have people of Asan language explain who they are, talk about themselves, anything they want to talk about. But instead of using English, they just use Asan so that we don't have any reason not to be available on the internet for people to see us and feel us and see the way we see the world.
Hmm.
So yeah, it exists there.
That's,
Though
I
we.
mean, I say that is amazing. Say, using the internet to help, or to help our people to get further forward. I think it's a
Mhm.
great thing. That's the whole reason why I exist. I think it's a great thing you're doing there. My granddad wrote a book. It's on my shelves over there. About the Asian, the culture.
Mhm.
So you're doing yours digitally. So it's a brilliant thing to do. Good on you is what I say.
Thank you so much for that. We'll talk about your father's work maybe on another occasion because I'm interested in everything that have to do with Asan, with our history, with where we are coming from. All right, now, Annie, let's talk a little bit about you. Now we know where you are coming from. You see, I'm really very key on that. In that, our history is a lot. It tells us a lot about us and where we are coming from, and also where we are going. So we never make the mistake of forgetting that. So that is why I'm really intentional about that. Of course, I'm still there just now. So tell me a bit about you growing up in the UK. What do you want us to know about that?
In the UK. No, it's I suppose, like I said, I grew up in Nigeria in Iran until I was 13. Then we came back here, so our dad came to get us. I'm telling you because now this is what the striking memory I have. We arrived back in the UK in November. And coming out of the airport, nothing prepares you for the cold. Nothing prepares you for that freezing, snowy thing. It really, it never crossed our mind once how cold it can be. And so literally that shock of coming out and thinking, ooh, here, so it was snowing on the day. I remember that clearly. But it wasn't really snowing. It was like rain and snow to mixed together. So you sort of now you're confused, and everything just looked so different. Everything, so that first day, everything was just weird. We just didn't have a comprehension at all. I suppose England was not what we dreamt of when we're in Nigeria. I think, it's a weird thing in Nigeria is, when you think of heaven, you look up in the sky. When you think of England, you look up in the sky. There's this fantasy world that you're gonna go to. And here we were in this fantasy world, and we're thinking, everything's smaller, and the houses are smaller, and it's just a place, but it's just a cold place. But in terms of growing up, in terms of living, I suppose we were still that mix between Nigerian and British. British, obviously, by birth, British by passport, but still Nigerian by the way we think. So that it took a while to get used to being, again, there's many weird things that you never know when you're a kid in Nigeria. Racism, for example, it never crosses your mind in Nigeria at all. Of course not, because you're amongst black people. Whereas here, you realize some people are really strange. They behave differently, they treat you differently. But for my credit, I suppose, because there were two of us, my sister and I, and because we grew up with a big family, a successful family, so literally we didn't really get affected by people because we just knew that we deserve to be who we are, and we're gonna do what we're gonna do anyway. So that was a strange feeling, but I think just carrying on to be who we are was our main thing.
Is it like you had also a kind of a cultural shock when you eventually came to the UK? Because now you said something very important there, that when you go to the UK, you see that everything looks smaller.
Mm,
In fact, it doesn't look like what you actually had in mind.
mm.
So tell me more about that. That I'm
Yeah,
interested in
no,
it.
nothing like it. Ugh. Okay, let me. I gotta start somewhere, right? So when I was in Nigeria, I guess because we had the privileged life, my granddad owned the hospital, it was a memorial hospital. So that's a big, so granddad was a big person in Nigeria, and he was minister for health for a while. So, we had the good life, right? All my uncle, I got 9 uncles and aunts, and they're all lawyers, doctors, I wonder if one's an accountant. So, we were the sport kids, really. Then when we came here, I said, well, if one of my uncles had all the Mercedes Benzes, all of them, from the Jeep all the way down to the smallest one, to the two-door Mercedes, and Uncle Vasco, all in gold, by the way, all in gold color. Anyway, so there we thought we had a hard life in Nigeria. Then when we came here, you realize that such luxuries just don't exist. It's not how they live. Everything is, the car was smaller. It wasn't a Mercedes, by the way. It was literally, one old car. And so we sort of looked at our dad and was like, "Why are you driving that?" And then we pulled up on the street in a house. I remember this distinctly. So got out of the car. It's like, right, that's the house. So we're like, oh, that's our house. Where's your house? That's the side. That's the mentality that we had. We just didn't comprehend that houses that in England were terraced, for example. We never, obviously, as a Nigerian, you never see terraced houses. You don't see houses next to each other, in a straight line, all attached. So we just didn't understand how we're meant to all live in that house, But you get used to it. You soon realize that's reality, and so you just have to do what you have to do. You have to live. Otherwise you end, you feel like you're in a strange place. No, but it really is a weird, weird feeling